Okay. Stop yelling at me. Okay. Don't get mad. Okay. I get it. It's a controversial idea, but I promise you it's with love. But I get it. How possibly could I accuse the characters that we grew up with, that we know and love and remember so fondly, that we think of so fondly, of lacking depth, of being one-dimensional? How could I sell Link's sense of adventure, or Mario's unwavering bravery so short, or Sonic's deeply passionate fondness for chili dogs? Well, here's the thing. It's not a criticism. These developers, they're not lazy. They're not poorly versed in the art of storytelling. It's quite the opposite, in fact. No. This recurring one-dimensionality in gaming, it is meticulously crafted, it is intentionally designed, and it is the most appealing part of these video games. There's a concept in game psychology that resonates deeply with me. It's this idea that the simpler the character you're controlling is, the easier it is to treat them as a canvas on which you can paint yourself. Instead of just watching them develop, you become them, or perhaps more accurately, they become you. Well, actually, it's a bit of both. There are two key psychological principles here that make all of this possible. First off, we like to feel like there are similarities between us and the media we're observing. As human beings, we have a desire to connect and a tendency to project. We want to feel like there are commonalities that tie us to the content we deem deserving of our time. It's why in a study published just earlier this year, we found that strong parasocial relationships, defined as a one-sided relationship with someone you don't necessarily truly know, whether they be fiction or nonfiction, are more emotionally fulfilling than casual in-person relationships. In gaming, where you're not just witnessing the actions of the character, you're actually controlling them, that connection has the potential to become much more serious, much more personal. And secondly, we have a tendency to fill in the blanks when we're uncomfortable with the unknown. I think mentally we're all aware of our capacity to do this. It's easy to give someone the benefit of the doubt, or to assume the worst, to pretend you know something instead of admitting you don't. Even as a physical example, everyone has two blind spots in their vision that we've simply evolved to automatically fill in. To put it simply, it takes self-restraint to sit with the unknown. Our brains are wired to make assumptions, to fill in the blanks. These tendencies present the perfect scenario in which video games are able to grab our full attention. Unlike a book, the scene displayed by a video game is much more vibrant, and thus some would argue more immersive. Unlike a movie, a video game is typically much longer, granting you ample time to become familiar with the characters, form an attachment to them. Most importantly, develop a sense of responsibility for their well-being. This responsibility presents itself in feelings that, at least not to the same extent, you simply don't get from other forms of media. Pride and guilt for the actions of the protagonist. Or to circle back to my core claim, you. So why on earth would these developers make these characters so simple? If we have the capacity to bond with them so much more, why would they make them oftentimes even completely silent? Not every video game is one-dimensional. Frankly, such a claim would be absurd and offensive to the likes of Kratos, Joel and Ellie, Booker DeWitt, Aloy, Celine, James Sunderland, and the most complex character of them all, Shadow the Hedgehog. But you have to admit, especially when it comes to older games, there tends to be a lack of depth in our characters. Think of some of history's most notable protagonists. I'm sure Mario comes to mind, Link, Sonic, Samus, Mega Man, more recently Astrobot. Hell, some of our favorite games are led by silent protagonists, like Jack in the first Bioshock or the Dragonborn in Skyrim. They essentially serve as nothing more than a point of entry from our world to theirs, with you behind the controller peering through. Take Link, for example, and much of what I'm about to say comes from this book here. And no, I'm not sponsored and not paying me to do this. I just really like the book. We don't remember Link for his complexity, and certainly not his dialogue, but rather for his deliberate simplicity. Since 1986, he's appeared in more games than I can count, as both the main protagonist and as a guest character in crossovers. Hell, he's in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate 3 separate times as 3 separate versions of himself, but who the hell is he? We'll never know. And that's exactly the point. Link's silence, his blank slate nature, and even his androgynous appearance are all carefully designed features, not flaws. The series creator, Shigeru Miyamoto, has said that Link's lack of voice is intentional, ensuring that players don't just guide him through his adventures, they become him. To understand why this works so well, we need to look at two psychological concepts, projection and theory of mind. Projection is a psychological phenomenon where we unconsciously attribute aspects of ourselves, our feelings, our desires, our traits, onto someone or something in the external world. In the context of The Legend of Zelda, Link is that thing. Almost like they intentionally named him Link to convey the link between the player behind the controller and the player on the screen, almost as if those two things are supposed to be kind of synonymous, almost exactly like what I'm trying to say here. Carl Jung, a psychologist who developed a deeper understanding of projection, argued that it's not just a quirk of the mind, but a vital way in which we connect with the world around us. He suggested that all the contents of our unconscious are constantly being projected onto our surroundings. In other words, projection creates a bridge between our inner selves and the external world, enriching the mundane with personal meaning. When you take control of Link, you don't just play the game. You project your own ideas of adventure, agency, and courage onto him. In many ways, The Legend of Zelda invites you, the player, to form a deeper connection with the game world by making it easy for you to project aspects of your own self onto their protagonist. Many other games have implemented this to great effect, again, referencing Jack from BioShock or the Dragonborn from Skyrim. This process does more than just enhance your connection to the story. Jungian psychology suggests that projection is an opportunity for growth. When you embody your character's heroic journey, finally beating Radon, collecting every single moon, walking away from the arduous path of pain, you take a piece of that heroism back into your own life. Confidence, perseverance, and triumph become lived experiences, not just distant ideals. Through the Tarnished, through Mario, through the nail-wielding knight, you're reminded of what it feels like to face adversity and emerge victorious. Another crucial concept at play here is the theory of mind, which refers to your ability to recognize that other minds exist, with thoughts and feelings completely independent of your own. Again, in the case of Link, his silence, his lack of a defined personality, they invite the player to kind of imagine what he's thinking, to assume his own internal dialogue. They invite you to invent or to imagine his perception of reality, which oftentimes comes from your own. What is Link thinking? What motivates him to embark on these dangerous quests? The game doesn't tell you, and that's exactly why it works. Without explicit cues, your brain fills the silence with your own assumptions, imagining that Link's thoughts align with yours. This seamless alignment strengthens the illusion that you are Link, reinforcing the sense of agency and responsibility that makes video games so strongly appealing. Here's another way of thinking about it. Some players might initially struggle to see themselves in Link. His elf-like features, his youthful appearance, or even his gender or race could make him feel less relatable to certain audiences. The very things that distinguish him are the things that make it more difficult for people to see themselves in him. The more ambiguous the portrayal or description of a character is, the easier it is for you to relate to the version of them you subconsciously create. But ultimately, these surface-level traits are just that, surface level. The joy of entering a new fantasy world, whether it be Hyrule or Hollow Nest or Anor Londo or Rapture or Silent Hill, the list totally goes on, lies in experiencing aspects of yourself that may remain hidden in everyday life. Stripped of their excess details, our favorite characters in gaming allow us to focus not on who they are, but on who we are, through them. At their core, video games present to us the gift of an entirely separate reality, in which we can feel comfortable to try and fail and try again. They give us stories that are shaped by our own actions, that elicit pride and guilt in ways that other forms of media simply can't imitate. They give us an escape when real life feels too challenging to confront at the moment. The benefits of these truths are felt stronger when we, the player, feel more immersed in the game. We, the player, feel more immersed in the game when the protagonist we're controlling is easy to relate to, for us to see ourselves in. And it's easiest for us to see ourselves within the protagonist when they're simple, uncomplicated, one-dimensional, free of specific details or motivations that might conflict with the deeply held, even oftentimes subconscious beliefs that we bring to every encounter. To put it simply, many of gaming's most memorable characters are one-dimensional. And that's a damn good thing. Hey everyone, thanks for watching my video. I'd like to make more videos like this in addition to the Sonic videos that I already have going, then I want to incorporate some challenge runs in the mix too. So if you're not already subscribed, I'm going to ask that you go ahead and hit that button, keep you up to date, keep my channel growing. It's a win-win. If there are any characters that you expected me to get to in this essay that I didn't, please go ahead and just list those in the comments below. Would love to respond to each one of those, just engage in some sophisticated video game conversation, my favorite thing in the world. But anyways, again, thanks for watching. Until next time, bye!